So in a recent video I made, you can see me hold an RPK and my character is carrying 30 magazines. And I got a lot of comments how that's unrealistic and how I keep talking about realism and still my loadout is unrealistic. And I'd like to address the argument. And I wonder, is it really unrealistic for an RPK machine gunner to carry 30 magazines? And you can look at this question from two different viewpoints here. You have kinetic realism, which is the physical realism of the game, whether it's physically possible to carry that much on a person. And then you have the organizational realism, which is the structure of each army, how they would equip each soldier and how the squads work. Let's look at it from the kinetic realism standpoint. Here's what I'd like to do when I use an RPK. So we'll hold the ammo. Take an RPK. Then I would take a backpack. And then I would take about 30 magazines. And that's about 22 kilos of ammo, including the magazine weight. Now, a lot of players said that's unrealistic. And I wonder where that argument comes from. Like, is it because the average war movie never shows a machine gunner carrying as much as he possibly can and then sits in a sort of fortified position to use it? Was it perhaps from games like Squad, which are often seen as like this perfect realistic representation of combat in a video game? But I don't think it is, especially the loadout realism. Because the loadout realism in Squad is determined by game designer. And the problem is that, well, let me explain from the other direction. I think one of the best decisions that the Arma Reforger developers made is to not have fixed loadouts like in Squad. And now if you look at what Squad is doing and its predecessor, the Battlefield mod, Reality mod, there would be a designer who would make the determination and would let his own biases flow into it. And I think there's often some type of pathological desire to punish a specific type of player preemptively before he even starts playing the game. So what do I mean by that? In the realism gaming community, there's always this weird fear of that mythical Call of Duty player coming in and just ruining the game by playing it like Call of Duty. That's the idea, okay. Now, in Reality mod, at some point they added sniper rifle kits. And because they looked at it from organizational realism, especially from, I think from an American point of view, which is like designated marksman being something different than a sniper. And I think that varies by army and what weapon systems are used. And so they set up the sniper kit that you would have to wait 8 to 9 seconds to get full accuracy for a shot. There would even be a button where you could hear the sniper breathing to do the breathing exercise and everything. And that was to preemptively punish the Call of Duty player, so he cannot just grab the sniper rifle and just shoot everybody with a scope. But here's the thing: most players joining a game, when they're new to a game, they want to try out the big, high-powered weapons with high magnification. And see, Reforger doesn't do that. It lets you take a sniper rifle and the mechanical realism prevails. Doesn't matter what intentions you have as a player, where you are. If you grab a sniper rifle or marksman rifle, whatever, because I think that terminology is sort of fluid depending on which army. You put it on a piece of wood, deploy it somewhere, and you start shooting with it, and the accuracy will be solely determined by the stress level of your character and the environmental conditions and what you're shooting at. And that's how it should be. So at some point, these two concepts of realism, they're going to collide in Reforger. And whenever they collide, the kinetic realism has to have priority. And I think the developers did it for the most part in this game already, which I think is a good thing. Like I said earlier, when they avoided having a fixed class system, just letting players grab what they want. Because the organizational realism, it's always distorted, and it always gets distorted by the fixed variable that the game cannot change, which is conflict game mode. Like players from all over the world joining the game in 2 teams, and they're playing conflict, and they have to cap the flag, and that's a superimposed thing that the organizational structure of the squads and the armies has to fit into. So that's something the developers have to compromise on. But something they do not have to compromise on is the physical performance of weapon systems and how characters move around. And one concern I have is, because I saw the comments, that's why I'm making this video, is because players might get the idea to convince the developers that they should be quote-unquote more like Squad. And I think that would be a grave mistake for this game. Because every time this game tried to do something like Squad, it backfires on the game. Because if you look at Reforger when they added the squad markers, like this video of a lead developer, I think Ivan Buchta says that it was his decision to not show the player mark on the map and even have this really nice compass. Notice how the needle is like reacting to physical impulses. It's a beautiful system, you see that? And then they probably added squad markers at some point to not disorient the player. And I think that was done because early in development, the game didn't have many players. I think the game released too early in 2022. It would crash all the time. And it only had like 150, 200 concurrent players each day on Steam. So the developers probably in a fit of panic thought, okay, wait, we got to do something to get more players in. And then they probably looked at squad, how they have squad markers, and they thought to synthesize the type of squad gameplay into the game. But now Reforger has proven the last few weeks with the PlayStation release that it can stand on its own and doesn't need the gameplay from Squad to make it more fun. I think the opposite is true. If you avoid anything that Squad is doing, you're actually making the game better. Okay, now here's one more thing I'd like to show you. I typed in Google Vietnam War machine gun. And you would see a lot of pictures of American soldiers with M60 rifles, machine guns. And notice I didn't type in machine gunners with gun belts. I just typed in machine gunner. And almost every picture you see a machine gunner having ammo wrapped around the body or large quantities of it next to the machine gun. See here, this one. This picture, this one. And for example, this guy is probably carrying, how much is that? 300-400 rounds around his body. In Reforger, that would be with a soft pack weight 100, it's about 12-13 kilos of ammo. Which is about 17 RPK magazines, and nobody complains about it. Because I think players just freaked out at the huge number of 30 in the magazine count, not considering how much ammo a machine gunner uses and how much ammo is in the belt-fed machine gun. Because I'm pretty sure that if a player, let's say you find a corpse on the ground with an M60 machine gun, you shoot an enemy player, you go to the corpse, and you probably sometimes grab the machine gun. Let's remove some of the. Let's remove the whole backpack. You probably took the machine gunner's backpack, and then you probably may have taken 3 or 4 boxes of ammo, just to have some ammo to shoot. And the machine gun itself weighs, without the ammo, of 11 something kilos. Is it? Yeah, with one magazine, it's I think 14 kilos. It's a pretty heavy gun. And 4 extra boxes with a weight of about, I think the backpack also weighs something. It's about 12 kilos of ammo. So you're carrying the same amount of weight as the RPK with 30 magazines. And the RPK, for the same weight you carry, you have a lot of more ammo. I think that's one of the features of smaller caliber 5.56, 5.45 ammo over through A-type ammo. Because I think that was one of the selling points. A soldier can carry more ammo out of it. So yeah, and that's why I made this video, because I think the 30 magazines is physically, realistically possible, and I think there's gameplay uses for it.